everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. I want to remind you that this is the best season of your life. When I say this is the best season of your life, I was thinking about that last night. Um, when I say this is the best season of your life, what I realize is that you really have to define it, what that means to you. Because I've come to realize that I've defined what it means to me. People define seasons in different categories. For some, it may be chronological. A chronological season for someone may be in terms of decades. When they're in their 20s, their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, in terms of their age. Those are seasons. And if that is the way you see it, then it's a season for you. Some people define season in terms of economics. They spend time raising their children. Kids are gone off to school, and now they have more money in their pockets. Or they may have gotten a raise. So this is a season of financial abundance. They can buy the shoes, they can buy the dress, they can travel, they can go to Paris, they can go to Europe, they can go out to dinner twice a week. Economics. Some people define their seasons in terms of wisdom because of experiences they have had and decisions they have had to make. Some people may define their season in terms of wisdom. They may feel they have more wisdom now. They have what it takes, the resiliency to bounce back from situations they may have been in, experiences they may have had, and so forth. So you need to define what season means to you. You need to define what it means. What is your season and what makes it the best season? Some people say, I'm living my best life. What is your best life? What is your best life? Is it, what brings you joy? Is it, raising the kids, the relationship you're in, the job that you have? What is that? Break it down. We talk about this journey of self-discovery and how we ask questions. We ask questions, and this is how we grow and we evolve because we are constantly asking questions. And when I say ask questions, for me, I ask myself all these questions. My season, when I became aware of, that I needed to define it, my season is when I became consciously aware. This season of awareness, consciously aware of who I am, coming to that place of conscious awareness. That is a season for me, and I have remained in that season for the longest time because for me, it's a place where I grow. And I'm so aware of the things around me, situations, moments, experiences, opportunities. I remain so aware of everything. So it's a season of conscious awareness. And I think I'm going to stay there for a long time because it just keeps me, fluid. It keeps me sharp and alert, trying to stay abreast of things that are going on. It makes me aware of situations in my life, socially, spiritually, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, politically, in all areas. So this season for me is a great season based on the way I define it. So you have to decide what your season is. That's the whole thing about this journey of self-discovery. You get to decide. Not only do you get to discover who you are, but you get to decide and you get to name it. That's the whole thing. You get to define it. And you no longer have to go by what someone else says. My season is my season. And when I say a season of conscious awareness is a season where not only am I conscious about living, but to really enjoy my life. And I define the purpose of my life is pleasure. And not everyone understands that, but it's not for anyone to understand. It's for me to know it. The season of my life is pleasure, unadulterated pleasure. Everything that I do, I think in terms of pleasure. And even if it's a situation that's adverse, in my mind, I have settled. I have settled that even if I go through a situation that's adverse, that I am resilient enough to bounce back, to get answers, to find out, to get solutions for whatever it is, and bounce back. Why? Because pleasure has become my default place. It's my anchor. It's my default place. One of the things that I'm learning with people that I am observing is that um, a lot of people live in fear to make a decision, fear to move ahead, to forge ahead, fear and hesitation and procrastination and vacillation. They vacillate in everything. And it's simply not making a decision. People are afraid to live. They're afraid to die. For me, it would be afraid to be alive and not live, not really live, because so many people are alive, but they're not really living. And that's the purpose of life. It's to live it. For me, it's to live it and pleasure, but it's to live. You only have one life to live every moment. People say you only live once. No, you have one life to live every moment. And it's important that you do. One of the things that's important, amigos, is that this whole journey of self-discovery, it's not just for yourself. It's for the world. We need your story. We need your views. You are worthy, and we need to hear from you. We need your contribution to humanity. And once you come to that place where you discover your worth, your value, and what you can contribute to society, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Once you reach to that place of independent thinking, to thinking, last night I laid in bed and I just took myself there. I just took myself there. The thing that I can appreciate about the assets that we have, which is the mind, is that I can think any thoughts that I want. And I laid in bed and I was so appreciative of myself. I was so happy with me. I felt happy. I was happy with me. I leaned over, saw my sweetheart, and I didn't want to wake him up, but I felt not only appreciative for myself, but for him as well, for my sweetheart. I I was feeling such gratitude for life and the goodness that surrounds us and the good things that um, uh, have happened in life for us. I like me. I was thinking about how much I like myself. And, I like my style and I like the way I think and I like the way I reason and the logic that I use and how the emotional intelligence that I have. The ability to manage my life and to regulate my emotions and to deal with situations. I was thinking all those things about myself. Do you spend time thinking those things about yourself? I sure hope you do, because you know what? Those are things, to me, it's better than affirmation. Affirmations are good, but when you spend time considering and some people say, well, I accept myself the way I am. No, 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 no. I don't accept myself, because it seems like when people say I accept myself, it almost seems like the lesser of two. I embrace all of me. I embrace all of me, my mind, my heart, my feelings, my emotions, the way I am. I embrace all of me. That doesn't happen overnight. I would love to tell you that happened overnight. No, it doesn't. It's only now that I have become consciously aware of who I am that I think about those things. And I do spend time thinking about that. It sets you free. And when you come to that place of freedom, it helps you relate to others with liberty and with love and kindness and compassion. It brings you to a place of independent thinking. When you realize that you can think for yourself, and today, in the age of information overload, where we can research the life out of any subject, whether it's anything, I mean anything, and learn for ourselves. You become an independent thinker, and then you start using logic to reason things, and you come up with some sort of conclusion. There is value in that, and you must understand, amigos, your worth, what you bring to the table. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a medical doctor. All you have to be able to do is to read, reason, and process information for yourself. So, amigos, we need you. This journey of self discovery is not just for you. Yeah, it'll bring you to a place of confidence and freedom and just a magical place of assertiveness, being bold and just a place of your true authentic self. But the world needs you. My friend, there are over 8 billion people, or close to whatever, 8 billion people here on earth. You don't even need 1%. You only need a fraction. We need you. We need your voice. We need you to show up. And once you know that, you navigate with gusto. You begin to forge ahead. Why? Because you would know the value of your life, and you need to live it now. People say, "Oh, I'm living my best life." What is that? What does that mean to you? Define your season, know what it is, and define your purpose. Know what season you are in, so that when we say this is the best season of your life, recognize your season. What is your season? If I went chronologically, I would want to go back to my 20s. I had a wonderful, it seems like my whole different decades of my life have been glorious. Yeah, of course I've had challenges, but they have been all good. You deal with situations and you grow from them. But I wouldn't want to go back to the 20s. No, I love this season because I am more seasoned in this season. Conscious awareness of who I am. And I'm not even going to say, oh, I wish I knew then what I know now. Those were just different stages of life. And the growth opportunities that I went through during that stage, it was good for that season. Navigated through it and just, you know, came out floating, learned from it. All the experiences that I've had, you learn from it and you grow from it. But this season, and we come to a place where you, at least myself, I am bent on living to the fullest. And when I say that, I mean to really absorb every moment of life, to take such pleasure in the things to which I assign value to, recognize the value and really enjoy the meaning. I talk about living intentionally so that you can live a meaningful, so that you can have a meaningful life. Calvin shared something this morning that really opened my eyes and just kind of made me happy because I get excited whenever I see growth in someone. And a lot of people share and their progress, their uh, progress, their growth, their evolution in this whole journey of self discovery. And it's just great because not only is it good for you, but just imagine the world that you are contributing to, just your piece, your portion. So Calvin shared this morning and he said one of the richest and most rewarding blessings I've ever received in my life has been coming to the awareness of my true self, getting to know my heart. He said, there were many breadcrumbs that led me here. And I find that expression interesting because breadcrumbs is like the leftovers. Breadcrumbs, to me, breadcrumbs is like the debris of life, secondhand information, secondhand teaching, secondhand training, secondhand, hand me down. The breadcrumb, it's not the whole loaf. It's not the whole of whatever it is life offers. It's someone else's opinion, ideas, view, stand. It's secondhand. And he said, there were many breadcrumbs that led me here. That means his uh throughout his whole life, he has had many secondhand information that he took on and guided his life by it. He said, there were many breadcrumbs that led me here. He said, I had to connect the dots. And in the process of connecting the dots, I had to do some critical thinking that led me to discard some beliefs that were insulting to my intelligence, things that no longer made sense, stuff I once held dear and considered holy and sacred. He said, now I realize I thought that I was holy and sacred. No, I'm sorry. Let me just get some better light here. I'm reading from my iPad. He said, now I realized I thought that they were holy and sacred because somebody told me to think that way about these things. He said, wow. He said, someone was living in my head rent free. Well, one day after questioning it all, my heart came whispering to me, and what it said caused me to serve an eviction notice to the man made nonsense, whatever that is. And I know that Kelvin has also gone through a journey of religious deconstruction. So I'm assuming when he's saying man made nonsense that he's making reference to that. He said, my heart wanted a relationship with my mind, and I am glad I listened. Best decision ever. I tap into the wellspring of life, in parentheses, my heart, that river that flows from within. He said, those who have taken the inward journey know exactly what I am talking about. Just thinking out loud, Kelvin. And he is correct. He says those that have taken the inward journey know exactly what he's talking about. And there is some truth associated with that because of the fact that I have also gone through a journey of religious deconstruction. And again, when I say religious deconstruction, when I started that, or when I made that change 15 years ago, that term religious deconstruction was not trending. So I didn't see it that way. I was just emptying myself or unlearning traditional concepts that I learned and lived by for years. But in his case, that part about the man-made nonsense, that's the way he described it, and I can relate to that. But I find it fascinating because uh, when he said that the one of the richest and the most rewarding blessings that he's received in his life um, is coming to a place of awareness of his true self. Because, amigos, I'm telling you, when you get to that place where you know who you are, it's like, what else is there? It brings you to a, because, freedom is not something someone grants you. Freedom is not something someone gives you. Freedom is innate. When I think of freedom, I think of Nelson Mandela. This guy was locked up in prison for over 27 years. And just imagine being locked up behind bars 27 years. And by the time he came out, he by the time he came out, he uh, ran for prime minister of South Africa and became the prime minister of South Africa. What does that tells you about the human mind? What does it tells you? It tells you that freedom is not something someone grants to you, because if he was locked up behind bars for 27 years and then he comes out, imagine the mind that he had to even dare to think that he could run and become the president, the prime minister of a nation that locked him up. That's out there thinking. So when Kelvin says that uh, the richest and most rewarding blessing is coming to the awareness of his true self, that is the place that we must go. So when I talk about my season being conscious awareness, the season of conscious awareness, I can relate. I understand what he's talking about. And I trust that you understand as well. It's the value of self. And you must know that. You must know the worth, your worth, and what you have to offer. It's your worth. And therein, once you understand that, you no longer have to you no longer have to eat the crumbs. And I'm sharing this with you not for you to do what I do, so that you can become aware of who you are and not say things like she said last week, it's easier said than done. No, it's not. Once you read and refuse to be fed crumbs, no more crumbs, amigos. No crumbs. You don't have to eat the crumbs. Once you know that you are an independent thinker and a critical thinking minded person, you will set up your standards. You will determine your values, and you will know the principle by which you will live. You set that all up, not from crumbs. You create your own. You do what works for you. And once you discover what works for you, Who is going to challenge that? Really? Who is going to challenge that? If it works for you, because remember, you're as long as you live your life and you don't infringe on the freedom of another person, amigos, you create your own value. When I met my husband, well, I asked my husband few months ago. We were talking and whatever, and I said to him, "What? Why did you choose me? What made you choose me of all the women that you could have dated, married, whatever? What made you choose me?" This is the only time he's been married, and he said, "You had standards." And you know what? It's interesting because I I didn't know. I was just me. I didn't know that's what he saw. And obviously, he would have been comparing to the other woman that he may have dated. He said, because you have standards. And I thought, wow. And I got to thinking, like, wow, and then I had to go and really, I always talk about, respect is, I place a very high value on respect, more so than love. I want to know that you respect me more than you tell me you love me, because love is, I love this, I love my iPhone, I love my this, I love my, this love thing. It's okay because we tell each other every day I love you. We do that. That's just part of our MO. But more than anything else, I value respect. But it starts with me, the respect that I give myself, and the way I treat myself, the way I show up, the way I present myself. So that's just by default. Now, I don't know what he perceived, what he saw. I don't know how he saw it, but he said, "You have standards." So I got to thinking about myself, and that's how I realized that in life, once you get to that place of an independent thinker, independent minded person, um, you set up, you determine your values, you have standards and principles by which you live. And once it becomes part of you, then you can go out and meet the world with confidence. You know your worth, you know your value, and you know what you bring to the table. You know what you contribute to the table, to the setting. What you bring to the table, what you contribute to the setting, whether it's a relationship, whether it's in business and a social event, whatever, you know what you have to offer. No one is going to define you. Why? Because you know who you are. And you don't have to think to act or to perform a certain way. You show up as you are. And you don't have to do things to please people or to behave a certain way because they don't like you performing this way, or you have to uh, walk on eggshells or think twice, or no, you get to know your true self, your true authentic self. Can you imagine the freedom that is there in that? The freedom to be who you are and not be intimidated, not be, uh, feel as if you have to fit in at all. You get to a place where you embrace yourself. A lot of people, they say, well, I've come to the place where I accept myself, I accept who I am, and blah 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 and so forth. But the whole for me, I don't even use that word accept, because accept is like the lesser of two. And it's accept because, well, I don't really want this, but I'll just accept that. No, I have come to a place where I embrace all of me. And I encourage you to think in those terms where you embrace all of you, all of who you are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, uh, socially, in every respect. Embrace who you are, your values, your traits, your worth. Embrace all of it. You have to embrace all of it so that you, and I don't, this, may require practice where you start, thinking about yourself. We are admonished not to think highly about the self. Well, I don't subscribe to that thought process. I think highly about moi. And I encourage you to do the same. What are your options? You have to think highly about yourself. But in order to do that, you have to know your worth. You have to know your worth. You have to know that you are worthy. You belong. Wherever it is that you want to be, you belong. Whatever it is you want to do, wherever it is you want to go, you belong. It all starts here. When I could stay up late every night. I don't, but that's my best thinking when my engine goes on, and because I know that I uh, have the ability to govern my own thoughts, I think such good thoughts of me. I think such good thoughts of myself. I encourage you to do the same. I don't think negative thoughts. I don't think, thoughts of despair, thoughts of lack, thoughts of fear, thoughts of what if, thoughts of, oh wow. No, 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 no. All of my thoughts is the beauty of life. Yes, I can. Yes, we can afford it. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we will do this. Yes, let's plan this. Those are the thoughts that flows through my mind. Why? Because I am so aware. We're talking about being consciously aware of who we are. Or, me. Conscious awareness of the power of my mind to think the thoughts that I choose to think. And you have that same ability to think those thoughts as well, regardless of what's going on or happening around you. Think good thoughts, thoughts of abundance, thoughts of prosperity, thoughts of health, thoughts of well-being, spirit and mind. Well, mind and body. Mind and body. You want to make sure that you think in terms of having a sound mind, that you are able to think right, to reason, think logically, and to use those faculties. And then with your body, you want to make sure that you are thinking in terms of health, of well-being, of being in perfect health. You want to think in those terms. And if something comes up, last week I shared, I had this rash on my back and it was annoying and all that kind of stuff. I had to, in my mind, I had to settle. I had to settle in my mind that I'm in perfect health, because even a hangnail can be annoying. And we navigate through life just accepting things, and we just we just think it's okay. We take comfort in suffering and pain and suffering, and we just take it as que sera sera, whatever would be will be. It's just We've come to a place where we just accept things. We have to go beyond that, my friend. You have to go beyond that. You have to go beyond, and it starts with your thinking, with your mindset. You have to go beyond the norm, the ordinary, and go beyond that and not settle for the crumbs, like Kelvin said. He said, there were many breadcrumbs that led me to a place of uh, settling, accepting, settling for that which someone else said. Imagine that. Here's a loaf of bread. You get the loaf, and I get the crumbs. Think of it. All the things that you have learned, all the things that even now, when my husband and I throughout the day, we are always sending each other information, and we are always checking things out and checking that. And we just go through that throughout the whole day. I mean, whenever I send him a bunch of stuff, and then he sends me back, and whenever he's free. And anyway, so we stay connected that way. And I would send him something, and I would say, well, I haven't fact checked this, but check this out. And he knows, and he would send me something, and he says, I'm not 100% sure, but check this out, or whatever. The ability to be able to discover, create, think things on your own, and not necessarily take things from the crumbs from the loaf that someone else is eating. That's disturbing. The more I think of that, the more I think of this statement that Calvin shared. I'm going to read this one more time so that we can get a better, you know. So he said, one of the richest and most rewarding blessings I have ever received in my life has been coming to the awareness of my true self. So he's saying that has been the richest, the utmost, the biggest blessing that I have had in my life is coming to the awareness of my true self. And he said he calls that getting to know my heart, getting to know his heart. And then he said, there were many breadcrumbs that led me here. That means that throughout his whole life, he has been, again, feeding from the breadcrumbs of someone else's loaf. That pisses me off now that I go back and when I read it earlier today, I thought, okay, but now that I read it, I am seeing that is my experience as well. I've been eating the breadcrumbs. When we grow up, we learn things. We are trained. We are taught. We are indoctrinated, and no fault of our own. But after you reach a certain age, you need to give it up. You need to understand, and you need to say, "Oh no, wait a minute, wait. I have got a mind as well. What makes somebody else's mind more valuable than my own?" So now that I'm thinking about this, Kelvin, thank you, Kelvin. Now that I'm thinking about this, it's like, wait a minute, I've got a mind too, and eating. I have been eating the breadcrumbs from the loaf of someone else's bread, someone else's loaf of bread. Now, what makes that person more valuable than me? I have worth. I have a mind. I can think. So Kelvin said that he had to connect the dots. And in the process of connecting the dots, he said, I had to do some critical thinking that led me to discard some beliefs. The breadcrumbs are the beliefs that he absorbed, he took into his system. Discard some beliefs that were insulting to my intelligence. Psh, what happened? He discovered that he is an independent thinker, that he has an independent mind, that he can think for himself. He came to the point where he realized, wait a minute, this that I believe is an insult to my intelligence. Kevin discovered his worth. He discovered his worth. He said that they were insulting to my intelligence, things that no longer made sense. It made no sense to his reasoning mind. This is fascinating. He said, stuff I once held dear and considered holy and sacred. He said, now I realize I thought that way, that they were holy and sacred, because somebody told me to think that way about those things. Somebody told me that. They just told you that. That's the crumb. That's what you must believe. He said, wow. He said, someone was living in my head rent free. That means he walked around with a belief system, which was breadcrumb from someone else, because this is what happens. The person with the loaf of bread is the person that's that's being fed for themselves. They're being fed their own views, their own ideas, their own position on things, their own opinions. That's their loaf. What has happened here is that Kelvin has come to a place where he discovered that he also has a loaf of bread. Think of it. He's saying, no, wait a minute. I've been feeding off the breadcrumb from somebody else's loaf of bread when I've got my own loaf. I've got my own brain. I've got my own mind. I've got my own ability to think, to reason, and to use logic for my own life. And he says, he came into a place of awareness of his true self. And he said, well, one day after questioning it all, my heart came whispering to me, and what it said caused me to serve eviction notice to the man-made nonsense. Meaning, serve eviction notice to all the information coming from outside in. All to serve notice is like, you know what? No mas, no more. That's what he's saying. No more. He said, absolutely not. No more. No more crumbs. This, I I didn't plan to share this, but when I got this morning, I read it and I thought, wow, that's great. That's a level of growth, evolving, and so forth. But the more hone in on the meaning, the significance, my perspective may be different from his. But the point is, what I'm sharing, I hope it resonates with you, because let me tell you, a lot of the information that we live by are crumbs from someone else's loaf. The fact that somebody says to me, do not think highly of yourself, that's crumbs. Why would I not think highly of myself? Is it because of fear that I may look down on someone else? I know that is not the truth. I know that is not my truth. So I'm going to think highly of myself, and I'm going to encourage you to think highly of yourself. Now, will you think highly of yourself? I don't know. It all depends on if you are aware of your worth, your value. If you are aware of your value, once you become aware of your value, there's no way you can not think highly of yourself. It doesn't mean you're above anyone. It doesn't mean you're above anyone. And you have to settle that in your mind. But someone telling me not to think highly of myself, that's crumbs. That's not the loaf. I'm going to have the loaf and think highly of myself. When I laid in bed last night and thinking all these thoughts about myself and toward myself and encouraging myself and just thinking how I like myself, I like my style, I like the way I think, I like the way I relate to others, I like the things I share. I love my husband. I adore my husband unapologetically. See, somebody may want to say, well, no, you shouldn't adore him. I adore my husband. And that is unapologetic. See that? But I am confident in saying that because why? I know what I mean and I know what it means to me. And, I don't have to explain. I don't need to justify. I don't need to correct. I don't need to modify what I said. I adore my husband. I adore, the fact that we have navigated through life so beautifully and made it so nice. I started thinking about that last night as well. I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's just, I was just thinking how fortunate, how blessed, how lucky I am in all respects. And when I think of my husband, I just it brings me such joy because we have really done well together. And last night I was talking to a family member, and we were talking about relationships and things like that. And she said something about, she says, oh yeah, after a while in a marriage, if you've been married for a long time, it can get stale and dull and boring. And I said to her, I said, people say marriage is hard, and I always refuted that statement. I don't think marriage is hard when you're still in love. And then she said, but yes, you guys do a lot of stuff together, and that's why you don't find it hard. And then I got to thinking about that. I got to thinking about that because she's right. Not only the fact that we do things together, but in a relationship, for us, for me, in a relationship, oh gosh, first of all, you can't be, boredom starts with yourself. No one can make you bored. You have to have something going on in your own life, have interests of your own, so that you can be motivated to do whatever it is that you want to do. But to keep a relationship like fun, you have to be mindful to do fun stuff. And for us, and it's interesting that it's not like we sat down and said, this is the kind of relationship we want to have. No, we're just into each other. I'm into him, he's into me. And we have always had it that way. We kiss at least 3 times every day by just, when he's leaving the house, he kisses me. I love you, sweetheart. And when he comes home, he kisses. And before we go to bed, we kiss. That's just what we do. But not because of anything. That's just what we want to do by ourselves, whether we are out or at home. That's what we do. Why? Because I always think, I am happy by myself. I am happy. I can sit with Cynthia and enjoy Cynthia's company. But if I'm going to share my life with someone else, then I want to make sure that I enjoy their company, not just coexist because we're a couple. As a matter of fact, I think we were talking this week. We said something because there was something on social media that said that marriages should be renewed like a driver's license every year. So I asked my husband. I said the other day, I said, do you think a marriage should be renewed? He said that's crazy. He said, why? He said, because by the time you're thinking you have to renew it, is because something is wrong in the marriage. You might as well just get a divorce. Makes sense. So, given the fact that you are able to make your relationship sweet and succulent and not just your social relationship but the intimacy, keep the sex going, just keep passionately into each other. But you have to be so mindful of it. You're giving and you're receiving. You're giving and you're receiving. And that's it in look. And even if you're not partnered, let's say you're not partnered, and some people have shared that, they have a difficult time uh, having relationships and things like that. Be creative. Today, in this atmosphere, we have so many options. If you meet someone on social media, let's say you meet a girl, you're a woman, and you meet another, and you like each other, whatever, you have a good rapport. Make a date, a Zoom date, by Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, whatever. Get a glass of wine, some crackers and cheese, and get on Zoom and chat. You may be here, she may be in Vancouver. It doesn't matter. Until you can connect, you go to Vancouver or they come to where you are, New York City, whatever. Until you can connect, get get online and chat. Have a good relationship. Build relationships. Virtual. You want to do something special, you want to do something different, go out to dinner by yourself. Invite her virtually. Say, let's go to an Italian restaurant tonight. She finds one in Vancouver, you find one in New York City. And you plan, you go to yours, and while you're there, you can FaceTime, and you can say, oh, this is what I ordered. And she'll FaceTime and say, oh, this is what I ordered. And you show each other and you enjoy the dinner, and you can, chat or do whatever. If I were single, I would be doing that. I would be nurturing relationships, virtual relationships. I would be here and a friend in Paris or a friend in London, whatever. Nurture those relationships. There's just so much you can do to make life sweet, meaningful, and significant. But you've got to be intentional. Keep the loaf, no more crumbs. Keep the loaf for yourself, amigos. No more crumbs. Keep the loaf, no more crumbs. I appreciate Kelvin for sharing that, because it just really. And now, you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be checking out all the crumbs and the crumbs comes in form of tradition, not only religious indoctrination, but traditional values, traditional things that no longer apply today. I pay a lot of attention to the youth, because the youth of today, there are a segment of our population, world population of youth, that are so smart. They are geniuses, and they are showing us a new way forward. They are showing us a new path. Let's pay attention and not undermine their intelligence, because they themselves are smart. No more crumbs. I'm going to start doing some personal inventory to see if I am living off a belief system from crumbs of someone else's loaf. I don't like that. Calvin just made me aware, brought me to a sense of awareness, conscious awareness. Because in most cases we don't realize it, that we're just doing things just because. That's the way we always do it. That's the way we always do it. That's not realizing that we can be the one to bring a change to our lives, and at the same time influence the lives of others. Amigos, your journey of self discovery is bigger than you. It is bigger than you. And understand this: the world needs you. We need your voice. We need you to show up boldly, with confidence and assertiveness, with your story, because your story is going to help someone else, and your story is going to set that person free. We need your story, amigos. I'm going to leave you with that. I love this. This really speaks to me. Eating from the crumbs of someone else's loaf. Imagine that. And we go through our whole lives just feeding off the crumbs, eating the crumbs, eating the crumbs, eating the crumbs, not realizing that we are independent thinkers. We have a mind of our own. We can think for ourselves and we can make decisions. We can take responsibility and we can make decisions for our lives so that we can enjoy living now unapologetically. Don't apologize for, my views are somewhat radical. And as I always say, my show is not for everyone. And if it doesn't resonate with you, there are so many great podcasts. I watch other podcasts because there's so many great ones to choose from. Do the same. Don't get offended. Don't get bent out of shape. My views are radical. They are things that work for me, for my life. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to encourage you to have a fantastic weekend. Drop me a note. Go to info@thecynthialinoxshow.com and drop me a note if you have anything to share or questions to ask. I am also a certified life coach. If you need someone to walk alongside with you and, have a personal guide with you to encourage you and so forth, drop me a note, info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. And I do offer a 30-minute complimentary session where we can determine if there's a good match, you and I. So go ahead and shoot me an email, info at thecynthialinoxshow.com. Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you guys know what today is. Thursday, and those little kiddos are going to be here tonight, ringing on my doorbell. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. But anyway, with their baskets and their fancy, cute little costumes, ringing on my doorbell for candy. Whatever floats your boat, whether you celebrate Halloween or not. I don't know if it's something to celebrate. Anyway, whatever you do, Halloween or not, enjoy your evening. If you don't, turn your lights off. If you do, keep your lights on and have lots of candies and enjoy the evening, celebrate the kids, and share a lot of candy. I'll see you next week, same time, same place, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here. And if you can't make it, see the icons down here. You can check out the show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, 24/7. In the meantime, I'm going to say ciao, au revoir, adios, hasta luego. See you next same time, same place.